On board tonight's Starlink 9-2 mission are a total of 20 Starlink satellites. Among those are 13 that feature the direct-to-cell capability. SpaceX has so far launched 77 of those. This will bring the total up to 90 on the year. SpaceX's goal is to launch enough of the DTC Starlink satellites to begin offering beta service to its United States customers. Last year, SpaceX announced a partnership with T-Mobile in order to introduce that capability to U.S. customers. It also has a number of international partners in this venture as well, and has started to get the paperwork going with the FCC in order to do some testing out beyond the U.S. territory. Each of these Starlink satellites clocks in at about 1,760 pounds, or about 800 kilograms. Once their solar panels unfurl, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. They use argon Hall thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering, as opposed to the previously used Krypton Hall thrusters. They were built in Redmond, Washington, nearish Seattle. They'll be deployed at about 180 miles or 290 kilometers altitude at a 53-degree inclination. What you're seeing there on the left of the Starlink V2 minis from a previous launch. Here's what they look like in their on-orbit configuration as imaged by HEO Robotics, which specializes in imagery of other on-orbit spacecraft. We're now T-minus 5 minutes, 52 seconds and counting. Just about a minute away from the start of the strong back retract sequence. Again, that will start with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, and then the transporter erector of the strong back will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket. It stays in that position until liftoff. Before we hit that point, and we'll start getting views of the Falcon 9 rocket very soon, I want to thank a few more folks for your support this evening. Our thanks to NDN Boogie for a $1 super chat. Thank you, NDN. Cynthia Graves with a $5 super chat, simply saying, hey. Shadle can't trust nobody with a secret. $5 super chat. Thank you. And with that, we have a gorgeous sunset view of the Falcon 9 rocket. We were hearing that the weather near Vandenberg was quite picturesque tonight, and as you can see with these live pad shots now, certainly lives up to the hype. A much, much clearer view here than we had here in Florida earlier today. As I call out for the strong back retract sequence now getting underway. So again, be sure to A, let us know in the live chat where you're watching from tonight, and B, if you're in the area of Southern California, central to Southern California, along the west coast of Mexico, or as far out as potentially Arizona or Utah. Keep your eyes looking west, and if you are able to capture a photo or video, be sure to tag us on Facebook, Threads, or especially X. See the strong back now pulling away from the Falcon 9 rocket. Now about 40-ish seconds away from the first stage liquid oxygen tank being full. You hear that call out in about 30-ish seconds. While we're waiting, squeezing a couple more folks' support. Thanks to channel member Nelson Reyes. Good to see you again this evening, Nelson. And thanks for gifting 5 Spacefly Now memberships. Also to Apocalypse Cal for gifting 5 Spacefly Now memberships. Thanks to the both of you. To our newest channel members, welcome aboard. We're very glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Nelson and Apocalypse in the live chat if you haven't already.
Stage 1 launch load is complete.
Good call out from SpaceX. The last remaining big fueling item here will be the second spin, about 40 seconds.
Stage 2 launch load is complete.
And with that call out, the Falcon 9 rocket is now full with 1 million pounds of propellant. Now less than a minute and a half to liftoff. For folks who are able to see the rocket in real time, we were about a minute and 10 seconds away from liftoff. The SpaceX feed comes in at about a 7-second delay or so. So keep that in mind if you're hoping to see the rocket with your own eyes. We're now about a minute to liftoff, so we'll come back to our live chat here on the other side of launch. But for now, we're going to keep our attention focused on the Falcon 9 itself. Standing by for the go for launch call.
LD is go for launch.
And with that, we are now 40 seconds away from SpaceX's second Falcon 9 flight of this Sunday.
T-minus 30
20
seconds.
Starlink satellites are on board this particular Falcon flight. 13 feature the direct-to-cell capability.
T-minus
15 Let's go ahead and
seconds.
listen in to this final count. We'll be back with you
10,
on the other side.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff Falcon 9. Go SpaceX. Go direct to cell.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Power and telemetry nominal. Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
And a good liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Falcon 9 now traveling faster than the speed of sound, and you heard that call out of Max Q, passing through the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Vandenberg chill has started.
With that call out, they are thermally conditioning the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage of the Falcon 9, in preparation for the start of its burn. We're coming up on a few different events in fairly rapid succession here in the second minute of the flight. First, we'll see first stage main engine cutoff for MECO at about T plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. That'll be followed 3 seconds later by stage separation. Then that Merlin vacuum engine will ignite at about T plus 2 minutes and 35 seconds. And the payload fairings will deploy at just past the 3-minute mark. You get a nice view of the horizon line there coming in from the left-hand side of your screen. Just a few seconds left before MECO.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
All good callouts, all good events there from SpaceX. You see the Merlin vacuum engine starting to ignite. The hypersonic grid fins deploying. Fairing deployment coming up now in just a couple seconds.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And with that, the Starlink V2 mini satellites now exposed to the vacuum of space for the first time on this mission. A little more than 3 minutes to flight now. Coming up in less than 3 minutes will be the start of the first stage entry burn. That's coming up at about T plus 6 minutes and 1 second. That burn will last for about 25 seconds in total. You see the Falcon 9 first stage still continuing to climb. It reaches an apogee of about 115 kilometers, give or take. Looks like it's probably hit the top of its arc at 114 today. Yep, now it's starting to make its descent. A little more than 4.5 minutes into flight. Those periodic bursts you're seeing in between the hypersonic grid fins, those are the cold gas thrusters. They're used to help adjust the attitude of the booster or its positioning as it begins to orient itself and start to make its way back down towards the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, stationed in the Pacific Ocean. Now more than 5 minutes into flight. We're now less than a minute away from the start of that first stage entry burn beginning, where that first stage booster will reignite. A few of its Merlin engines begin to dramatically slow the vehicle down.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you see the start of that entry burn. Once again, this burn lasting for about 25 seconds in total. About 5 seconds left.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
With the conclusion of that entry burn, you can see the speedometer has dropped quite dramatically from where it was previous to the burn beginning. Coming up, the next milestone is about a minute away now. T plus 7 minutes, 49 seconds is when the first stage landing burn begins. I'll set up that first stage booster B-1075 in the SpaceX fleet for a landing on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You at about T plus 8 minutes and 14 seconds.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
that call there, the flight termination system, or the FTS, has now been safed. It's no longer in use for the first stage at this point in the flight.
Stage 1 transonic.
Falcon 9 now slowing to below the speed of sound. It's a combination of the atmospheric drag and that entry burn helping to slow the vehicle down, setting up again that landing burn to begin.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Should see some views of the drone ship pop up on the right momentarily.
Stage 2 and terminal guidance.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And with that, for the 11th time, this first stage booster 1075 is up and down, safe on the drone ship.
MVAC shut down.
And with the conclusion of that burn on the second stage,